Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time zone you're joining us from today. Thank you for taking the time to join us today on this webinar, The AI Advantage, just looking at how we can be able to unlock the power of AI for your mission. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Yes, it's going to be a very, very interactive, nifty session. My name is Edwin Olo, and I lead the team here at Sibasi with regards to, Microsoft digital transformation. And bringing us this webinar today in partnership with Sibasi is Foresight, all right, and Microsoft as well, Microsoft Elevator. And this is the arm that just deals and tries to empower, not-for-profit organizations to be able to make the most of the technological infrastructure that they would have. Yeah, so just to introduce the team that is with me today here, also just to help us to do a mic check and making sure that our tech is running. So I have Salome from Foresight. You can just say hi.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well today, and thank you for joining us. All
Awesome,
right.
awesome. Right, we have Annette and Lavender from our team as well. So yeah, you can introduce yourselves, just say hi.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lavender. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Annette from Sibasi. Welcome.
All right. Yes. Mic check's done. I think our cameras are working right. I think the screen is on as well. So I think we are good to go. Yeah. So, like I said, for our webinars, what we usually have a threefold agenda in terms of what we're looking to do. Our webinars are looking to engage, right? We're looking to engage. So, have conversations with our clients and just figure out, from a tech perspective, how can we be able to grow together. The other bit is educate, yeah, what is happening in the tech space and how can we be able to leverage that and empower, right? Making sure that you can be able to take those particular tools and, put them into practice. So that is the purpose for this webinar today. And for the agenda, how we're going to run today is it's going to be a nifty session. I would have a welcome keynote from Salome. And then after that, we're going to then dive into how not-for-profit organizations and academic institutions can be able to improve their operational efficiency and maximize their impact, and we're going to look at a case study around that as well. And then after that, we're going to dive deeper into what compliance and ethics and security looks like in the world of AI. So remember, our conversation is already geared up or set up around what the AI advantage. How can we be able to take advantage of AI in our organizations to be able to deliver success and impact, whichever way we measure that. So we'll be looking at what are the compliance, regulations that we need to think about, things around ethics, things around security, and then of course would definitely share a readiness roadmap. Then how do you start, gearing your organization to be a frontier organization, which you'll hear us talk about more with regards to AI. Right. And then after that, we'll try and wrap up the session with some key takeaways and definitely some Q&A. Right. So that's the nifty agenda for today. But before we begin, just note some housekeeping, right? So number one, of course, we usually get this question, can we get the recording? Yes, this session is live and we'll be capturing the highlights. So you should be able to expect a polished recording delivered into your inbox within 6 business days. And like I mentioned, we love that this webinar session will be engaging. So feel free to drop in, your questions, your comments. We have our live Q&A open throughout the session. So drop your questions and your comments at any particular point in time, and we will really, really be happy to address those particular concerns. Yes, so that's about it for the housekeeping. And without further ado, let's welcome Salome Gore. She's the Microsoft Sure Step Ambassador at Foresight, and Salome is really, really passionate about helping NGOs unlock the power of technology, and she'll be setting the tone for today's conversation. So, karibu sana, as we say it here in Kenya, Salome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Edward. Okay, perfect. I'm going to quickly share my slides for a second. So if you can give me 2 seconds, I'll be sharing in
Not a
three,
problem, not a
two,
problem.
1. Let me go from the current slide and just fix. There we go. Okay, so I did mention my name is Salome Gower, and as Edwin also mentioned, I represent the Microsoft Elevate sector for Microsoft, which consists of the nonprofit side and then the educational side as well. I represent Foresight Dynamics Africa, who's a Microsoft indirect provider. And I would just like to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I'm very excited about this webinar. You guys are in for a treat with the Sibasi team. I can attest to that. So at Foresight, we work alongside C-Sprinter resellers such as Sibasi to ensure that nonprofits and schools don't just get licenses, but also the right solutions at the right value, tailored to your needs. So let me walk you through Microsoft's Elevate's program and highlight some of the more key licensing benefits. Microsoft Elevate brings philanthropy, nonprofit licensing, and education initiatives together into one single program. So over the next 5 years, Microsoft has committed 4 billion globally. Through Elevate Academy, the goal is to help 20 million people achieve AI skills credentials by 2027. Elevate is designed to deliver scalable and sustainable impact for nonprofits and schools. So one of the biggest advantages of Elevate is in licensing. So the biggest opportunity within Microsoft Elevate is licensing. Just wanted to echo that again. So when you purchase through a Microsoft partner such as Sibasi, eligible nonprofits and schools can access Microsoft Cloud solutions at up to 75% discount rates. Now that is a lot if we think about the difference between commercial pricing and nonprofit and educational pricing. And Sibasi would be happy to do a one-on-one session with you to run you through the differences in the different pricing from commercial to nonprofit pricing, just to show you the value that you would be getting should you purchase the licenses through a C-Spend or reseller such as themselves. And next, I would like to list a few key benefits nonprofits can also receive for a C-Spend or reseller like Sibasi. So starting off, you can get 300 Microsoft 365 Business Basic licenses at zero cost. This means you can empower your staff or volunteers with enterprise-grade tools while still keeping costs predictable and affordable, which is important. So, and next in education, Microsoft uses the 140 licensing ratio. So for every paid for faculty license, up to 40 student licenses are included at no extra cost. That makes licensing extremely cost effective for schools, especially with discounted Microsoft 365 A3 and A5 for education plans. And what I would like to add here too, a common misconception around educational licensing. Usually, if you are any institution that provides education, whether it's on a short course or if it's a university or if it's an IT program that you are running, you should be able to qualify for nonprofit licensing. And I would actually prompt you to reach out to Sabasi so that you can see if you do qualify for those discounted licensing. Because it's not just high schools or primary schools or universities, it's all educational institutions. So moving on from this point, to close on my side, Elevate is not just about technology, it's about combining grants, licensing, and skilling to create real and lasting change. Working with a Microsoft partner like Sibasi ensures these solutions aren't just accessible, but practical, affordable, and tailored to your sector. With that, I'd like to thank you all, and I would like to hand back to Edwin from Sibasi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Salome. You kept it short and sweet as always. Yeah, a lot of things and a lot of benefits, a lot of money that Microsoft has actually put out with regards to helping nonprofit organizations and academic institutions to be able to, onboard technology, and especially now in this world of AI. That's an important investment, and I think that is something that would really encourage everyone who's joining, every organization that is joining this call today, to take advantage of it. And I think with that, Annette, we have a poll that we are running. I think we can run two polls right now. Number one, we'd love to know where you're joining us from. So we can start with that, right? And then the second poll is going to be around, are you already on Microsoft 365? Because it will be good to know if you are on that, and so we can see how to take this particular conversation forward. Yeah, so I see the poll is there. Where are you joining us from? So just feel free to submit that. All right. I'm seeing the results are coming in thick and fast. We have majority joining from East Africa, right? And we have some percentage joining from South Africa as well. This is really great. This is really great. Right. Thank you for taking the time to join. I don't know if you've seen the second poll. Are you on, M365 already? As Salome has mentioned, there are certain grants, there's certain discounts that nonprofits and academic institutions can be able to take advantage of. Are you already taking advantage of that? So that's the question that we are asking about right now. So even as we do that, allow me to share my screen so that we can also set the stage for what the next conversation would look like. Right, and I'm seeing it's almost like 100% of those who have joined the call today are on M365. This is going to be an exciting conversation today, because then it's going to be very, very contextual for you in terms of the things that we are able to do. Thank you so much for taking the time also to participate in the call. Like we said, we'd love to really make these particular sessions, engaging, and thank you for engaging with us. So, right, as we proceed on, we talked about how can we be able to do things around operational efficiency and impact maximization. And the true sense of it is that, we are actually we're trying to navigate economic turbulence, right? And now in the age of AI. And AI is definitely not a buzzword anymore, right? It's something that is, disrupting how we do work and how we know workers is, right? So the statistics that you're seeing on the screen is really, really interesting, because there are three areas that we're looking at, On the one hand, growth is slowing down globally. Uncertainty is rising. Tariffs are driving up supply chain costs. I know every one of us right now knows the catchphrase, which is the Strait of Hormuz, in terms of supply chain and all that. So we understand that, and we understand how that then is going to force inflation, which is then going to squeeze our margins as businesses and all that in terms of the available capital that we have to work. Yeah, so that is something that is a reality that we are looking at, looming uncertainty. But you see, at the same time, AI is reshaping everything. It's not just automating tasks, but it's also orchestrating smarter and faster decisions. And the reality is that the winners will be those who use AI to predict disruption, not just to react with it. Another interesting statistic here is around human labor, and I know all of us can relate to this. Many of us feel this every single day. The Work Trend Index shows that 80% of employees and leaders globally say they do not have enough time or energy to do their jobs, right? But on the other hand, 53% of leaders say that productivity needs to rise to meet the business goals. So we are looking at a capacity gap here, right? And this gap is really, really where AI would shine. And when you think about it, we can look at the challenges that tech, most organizations in the nonprofit and academic institutions are facing. Number one, we're looking at delivery constraints, right? We're looking at things around staffing challenges, right? Nonprofit workers report being stressed and burnt out, like we've talked about in terms of the workload. The demand is really high, and we do not have enough time for that. We're looking at donor acquisition and retention, right? We're looking at declining numbers and the uncertainty that actually is around the globe, and some of the geopolitics that is affecting also some of the legislations that are coming up with regards to how funding is done. That is also affecting how then we be able to for NPOs and academic institutions, how are we now able to push our impact. The other thing is, how do we personalize our communication? 77% of nonprofits believe that personalizing donor communication is critical, yet 44% are always or yet only 44% are always personalizing communications, because if you'd want to drive impact, then you'd need to contextualize your conversation. So that's a challenge. The other one is, of course, like we've talked about, the complex financial environment, the changes in funding sources, things around compliance, data challenges, and demand for services. That creates financial instability, as well as decision making inefficiency. This is a big one, because we have fragmented data systems, and manual processes are slowing down decision making, and increasing the risk of errors, and also slowing down service delivery. The statistics here is 60% of nonprofit leaders cite outdated technology as a barrier to operational efficiency. But the good news is that, these challenges aren't the end of the story. AI is giving nonprofits the ability to work smarter, respond faster, and amplify their impact. With the right tools, organizations can streamline the operations, unlock insights from their data, protect sensitive information, and stay compliant with donor funding and requirements. And so there's this particular interesting quote that we usually use for our webinars from Joel Ramjon, and it says, Copilot is a force multiplier. AI is now doing a lot of the heavy lifting, so the people we help do not fall through the cracks. And like we mentioned, here's the reality. Nonprofits and academic institutions are spending nearly 40% of staff time on repetitive admin works. 73%, say data collection is a burden rather than an asset, and which is interesting because, again, we need this data to be able to make decisions. So that's an interesting stat there. And organizations that adopt AI are growing 2.5 times faster. So the question isn't whether you can adopt AI today. It is whether you can afford not to. I'm going to let that sink in for a bit. Yeah. And so when we're talking about AI, there's usually some things that we need to demystify to make it practical, accessible here and now. So number one, AI is a smart assistant that helps to handle your routine work. It's not a replacement for your team's expertise. And I know with regards to tech and things around AI, most people are usually antsy about, is it going to take away our jobs? No, it's just helping us to work smarter, right? Number two, we're trying to look at, AI is going to help you to, in terms of finding a pattern in your existing data, right? So it's not just something that big tech companies can use, but it is actually urgent and critical also for your NPOs and all, right? The other bit is with regards to, it's a time saver that frees staff for mission work. Remember that we've talked about the capacity gap, right? So it's not necessarily expensive or complicated when you look at it in the other way, that is now freeing the humans to be able now to focus on the critical bits of their work. And of course, it's built into tools you already use. that neat integration, right? It's not a magic box, so it will still need human oversight, and that is where you come in. But the other thing that we usually talk about, even as we're talking about the AI advantage today, is that AI is only as good as the data it is grounded on, right? And the statistics are there to show it, right? 83% of business leaders, say that organizations' AI adoption will be faster if they had stronger data infrastructure in place. And 69% of top performing companies have implemented data modernization. So that is a very, very interesting statistic. Just to know that if you'd want to be a frontier organization with regards to AI, then you would need to have data infrastructure in place. And this is a challenge that we have seen from a data infrastructure, right? We're trying to unlock how AI would work better for our organizations, right? 90% believe that unifying data on a single platform is critical for AI, and 72% agree that data issues are most likely factor, the most likely factor to jeopardize AI goals. So this is where we are coming from, and this is what we try to look at today. We have organizations that are probably acting in disparate silos, right? Departments are not talking to one another. So data is seated in different spaces and places. It's disconnected, and we are wasting capacity, right? What we'd want to do is unify that data, bring that data together. The other bit is that we're having complex, redundant, inconsistent data. For AI to work, we would need to clean that up. And of course, we cannot talk about AI without talking about security. Security is key. So right now, at the moment, it depends. Most people would have, their data exposed. It's not protected. Have you heard of situations where people are taking, a company report, and they're trying to put that in a tool, for example, your open source tools like ChatGPT, and you're trying to come up with a report. It's not very nifty to do that, because then you're exposing that data for a model to train on it, and therefore it might become accessible to other people who do not need to have it. So we need to look at all these things together. We're looking at security, we're looking at unifying all these things together, and so that we have what we call a unified data set. This is really important. So what I've just mentioned is this. This is how probably most of our organizations would start off as. You'd have your fundraising and communication and marketing team collaborating together, but they're not having conversations with the M&E and the field team. They're not having conversations at all with the procurement and the programs and operations teams. The finance and accounting is working on its own. The executive leadership is expecting communication on how how the nonprofit is working, what is our impact. The stakeholders would also be looking at their reports and all that data, and all that data is sitting in all of these departments. How do we then break down these data silos, right? This is what we'd be looking at. This is what we are driving at. How can we be able to bring all this together in one? That is what we're talking about, operational efficiency. The fact that then we are able to consolidate the communication for all of these departments and consolidate all that data. And we're going to go into a demo and just show you how that would look like from a Microsoft perspective, and especially with the grants that you have from a Power Platform perspective. And we're going to show you how that is going to look like. So in terms of operational efficiency, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at how are you able to, get these three quick wins, document and report automation, right? We've had a lot of organizations that have come to us with this particular challenge. How can we be able to automate our processes? Remember, AI is only as good as the data is grounded on. And so if you're running any manual processes, then it's going to be a problem for you to leverage AI. The other bit is around meetings and communications AI. How are we able to, get the tasks that, transcribe a meeting, get the task, and, be able to do a report on that. The other thing is around data entry and processing. These are some of the quick wins that we are able to get from, being able to modernize, and unify your data, and then now start applying AI on top, right? The other bit about impact maximization, these are the things that we're looking at. So once you have all your data sitting together, then now you're able to now start getting analytics, right? Because all this data, why are we having this data with us? Is because we would want to be able to make decisions on it. We'd be able to want to see where is, what are we doing at this particular point in time? Beneficiary analytics. We'd want to predict our funding, things around staff affordability. Are we able to afford, having all, running all these programs for the next 3 to 5 years? We would want to do some donor reporting, and we need to do those in time. So that is the bit that we're looking at. And right now, I just want to show us how this is in action by just taking a case study of one of our clients who's called Kenya Wildlife Conservancy Association. And they came to us with the same challenge with regards to, how are we able to modernize our operations for, impact maximization and operational efficiency. Right. And so I'm just going to move here and show you what we are able to do with them, for them with regards to power ups. Right. So did you know that as an MPO, right, you have access to grant licenses with regards to power ups? I think it's about 10 grant licenses for that, and that now enables you to spin up an application like this. So what does Kenya Wildlife Conservancy Agency Association do, right? So they work with conservancies around Kenya to be able to, promote, the health of conservation within our country, right? And so they had different departments who are working in silos. Remember that, like I talked about, the disparate sections. So we had the department that now works with the landscape and associations, while others were working with the membership. So we have those who are members of these association, KWCA, and those which are just conservancies and are not members. And they had two lists that they were maintaining for, membership and conservancies for those two particular departments. Number one, that was an issue, because then when they were asked how many members do we have at any particular point in time, they could not be able to tell that, right? Number two, we are also looking at how do we get funding for this particular projects that we'd want to run in conjunction with these particular conservancies and, with other implementing partners. So that was also sitting somewhere manually in an Excel sheet. There was the idea of a strategic plan, right? How are we able to track, what's our annual work plan? What are our goals? What are our objectives? And how have we been able to manage to raise funds for that particular bit? And so all this was sitting in Excel. All this is sitting with different people, different departments, and working on a report. There's one report that they work on called the State of Conservancies, was taking them up to 3 weeks to a month to be able to consolidate the impact data within a year. And so what we managed to do for them is create for them this particular application, right? And this application is based on Power Apps, right? It's based on Dataverse. And remember, we say that AI is only as good as the data that is grounded on. So you need to have a foundation upon which then we can start leveraging AI. So we were able to bring in things around their conservancies, right? And we are able to have that particular set of list of data within the system for them to be able to see that. And, on the page that I showed there, you could be able to see the dashboard, and I'm going to end with that. And this is basically same Excel layout that they had and all that. You are able to now do things around grouping by ecosystem. You are able now to start doing a lot of nifty things from here. And this is just based off of the views that you have. If I'd want to come and see, who are those that are KWCA members, for example, you're able to filter that particular database really quick. And then you're able now to start utilizing the things that you're used to. You can actually export now this to Excel and then be able to manipulate it later. You're able to visualize this particular view in Power BI. And if you have Power BI, and it's be able to create for you some interesting analytics around this. So this now is integrating with some of the infrastructure that they had. I actually missed to mention that when we started our engagement with KWCA, it was actually from an productivity standpoint. So they were looking to migrate from, cPanel email to M365. And that is where this conversation actually started before we actually got to building for them this particular monitoring and evaluation tool, right? So we started by setting them up on 365 grants, right? That is something that you also have access to. So you have about up to 300 business basic grant licenses. And like Salome mentioned, you have about 75% discount on business standard and business premium as grants, so that then you can get an enterprise grade email, enterprise grade productivity, so that you do not have to run cracked software on your machines and all that. So that's where we started this particular conversation from. And once we built that, then they saw, okay, fine. So then how are we able to consolidate all this information that is sitting on Excel and be able to put that in one particular system that is then able to show us, how we are doing as an organization. So, and this is what it's going to look like, right? So they're able to track things around their, the landscapes, right? The associations, the number of rangers that they have, the male and female, and you're going to see that in the report. How many tourism facilities are there? How many counties are this particular, this particular conservancies in, and that you're going to see also in the report as well. Things around funding. Who are our donors? When are we expanding? How does the pipeline look like in terms of funding our projects? Things around your strategic plan. How are we doing in terms of being able to meet those particular sub activities and all that? And the result of that is this particular report that you're seeing right here. So from an overview perspective, like I've shown on the other side, you're able to see all your data at a glance. So this is one thing that used to take them a couple of days to be able to figure out. For example, what are the number of conservancies that we have? You are able to see that. Remember all the data in terms of the counties and all that. Now that is starting to show up here, and you're able now to see how that would look like. The other interesting bit is this particular report here. This particular report is the one that I talked about that used to take them weeks to do, because you're now trying to consolidate all this impact data from different places. Right now, they're doing that at the click of a button. And the reason why they are able to afford to do this is because they have unified their data. They have a common data platform where all the data is put in, and therefore we are now able to start, churning out such particular reports. You're able to see what are we doing from a membership perspective. You're able to see reports around what are we doing from a ranges perspective, right? You can start seeing things around the gender balance and all that. That is a nifty report. But then the other bit that is also very, very important is in terms of their annual work plan. So they're looking at things around, there's budget for specific goal areas, and they're trying to look at how are we doing in terms of, what we've planned or what we've budgeted for versus how much have we secured in terms of funding. And they're able to break that down into, those particular goals, and how much we've gotten for that, how much we've secured, is the progress in status or not. They're able to see all this at the click of a button. Why? Because they unified the data. Once you unify your data as this, then now you're able to put in AI on top. You're able to use things like Copilot and things like agents. And my colleague Amos is going to be coming in shortly to just show us what that would look like once you unify your data. So the whole idea of showing us this particular bit of this particular case study is showing us how we can be able to grow. So with what Salome had talked about, the amount of money that Microsoft is putting out there for nonprofits, are you utilizing that to be able to, automate and digitize your processes within your organization? Are you transforming the way you're working from coming from manual, to an automated standpoint? Once you are able to unify your data, then it now predisposes your organization to be AI ready, because AI is only as good as the data that it's grounded on, right? So in another bit, just to continue with our conversation, there's a whole spectrum of applications that we're able to deploy on the Microsoft ecosystem, right? Things around fundraising and stakeholder engagement, like you've seen, to things around organizational efficiency and internal operations, which I just want to show you about, things around Business Central and the things that you can be able to do around it, and as well as program delivery execution. All these things have been built on the Microsoft ecosystem, which is a platform that is already AI ready. And as for those who joined us here today, we saw that you guys are already on M365, which means that you guys are already poised to start taking advantage of the things that you can be to the things around AI. So when you're looking about things around outreach, we need to start from somewhere, right? So of course, if you're on M365, you're definitely using your collaboration tools, your share SharePoint, your OneDrive, your Excel, your Teams, and all that. But then now we can start building that up a bit, right? Putting up tools, right, that are able now to, e-learning tools for stakeholder engagement. We are able to now utilize things around Dynamics 365, which is built on top of the Microsoft, platform. Then we can now start automating some of those particular processes, the approvals of funds and all that. The other bit that we can do is now look at what can we do from an HR perspective, right? In terms of, or even from a finance perspective, how can we be able to track grants, right? How are we getting that? How are we, expensing those particular grants and all that? The other bit is also around monitoring and evaluation. Like I've just shown you, you are able to build applications that are out of the box and applications that you're able to build on that. And lastly, then you can now come to a place where once you have all this data, then you can now start telling impact stories using Power BI. So all of these particular tools are available for you in the Microsoft ecosystem. And for the next one, I just want to play for you a video here that shows us what is happening in the finance space, especially from a BC perspective, and introducing now the whole concept of copilots and agents. And then we're going to have our colleague Amos come in and then show us what that would look like. Right, so let me know if the video plays and if there's sound.
Markets move fast. Finance has to move faster. Imagine having a team of AI agents to help you stay ahead. Agents that help you mitigate risk, that deliver insights from your data, sourced from your systems of record, and give you continuous visibility into your financials. They can plan, detect, reason, recommend, powering processes from end to end. Like the process at the heart of finance, record to report. Develop accounting policies aligned with global standards. Monitor cash flow in real time. Plan and reforecast continuously. Record, reconcile, post, and analyze. All powered by AI that understands your data, follows your rules, and adapts to your business. Move your work forward with pre-built agents or build your own. This is more than technology. It's the future of finance. Scalable, dynamic, and ready for what's next.
All right. And just to give context to that video, so before 2023, we humans were doing all the work. So when it comes to, things around responding to, stakeholders and donors, we were doing the thinking, we were doing the orchestrating, we were handling everything, right? But between 2023 and 2025, we now got into a space where we started now leveraging Copilot. And Copilot is basically an assistant that is working beside you. So you could actually now start telling Copilot, hey, draft for me this particular email back to the beneficiary or to the stakeholder. Or you could actually now be able to tell Copilot, I need to be able to, for you to be able to summarize for me this particular report so that I can be able to go into a meeting and all that. But in 2026, what we are seeing and what my colleague Amos is going to be joining us here and just showcasing is we're looking at what we're calling a hybrid workforce, right? Hybrid teams. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about now having agents come in and doing some of those particular repetitive tasks. Remember, when we're talking about our statistics, we're talking about two things: a capacity gap. We do not have enough time to do a job, yet our productivity needs to increase. So for that to happen, then we need to introduce the use of copilots and agents. And agents are basically tech infrastructure that can be able to run your simple tasks like retrieval to things that are complex, automated through and through. And it can be able to now pick things like your, a vendor invoice and go and put that in the system and be able to book that particular invoice in your ERP. So that is what we're talking about, so that the human is now left doing, the things that the human needs to do, probably leading and strategizing and, trying to figure out how we can best, build impact for the organization. So I think at this particular point in time, Amos, you could come in and just let us know what are we when we're talking about agents, what are we talking about, and then how can we be able to leverage this to the advantage of non-profits and academic institutions.
Fantastic, Edwin. Maybe before even we switch over, there was some interesting questions that came up. I hope I will pronounce correctly. Abimbola. I'm really hoping I've gotten it right. Abimbola mentioned, I think, two questions. One is, I like the information in your drive is used to generate reports, right? That the information, basically, Edwin, if you could just answer, does the information coming from your drive actually get used to generate the reports? And I think it's also related to the second question, asking around how do you unify your data? If it has if it has been mentioned before, I will wait for the presentation and the recording. But basically, how do you unify your data, and how does the information sitting on your drive then get used to generate the reports? Probably you can answer that as we switch over the.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for those particular questions. Yes, the whole concept about unifying data is now being able to break down the silos, taking out information from the different sectors. So I know most organizations would start from a place of using Excel sheets or different applications that have the data and they're sitting in different departments. So unifying data is being able to bring that into one particular platform. And I remember when I was doing the presentation, I mentioned that as a nonprofit, you have grant licenses that have been given to you to be able to now start utilizing what we call Power Platform. Power Platform has a database where you can be able to bring all your data together in, right? So depending on which particular system, and interestingly, it's also able to connect with other systems. So for example, if you're running, let's say, for example, SAP on the other side, or you're running an HR system on the other side that is not Microsoft based, you are able to integrate using, again, tools like Power Automate to bring that data into that particular common data platform. And then now from that particular common data platform, you are now able to run things like your reports, Power BI, and then as Amos is going to show us, you're now going to be able to start doing things like natural language processing, where you're able to ask questions of the data, right? And then go actually to a place where you're now looking at copilots and agents, where you're now starting to orchestrate, do a particular function. When you receive this particular email, it's from a vendor, then go up here into the ERP, create that particular invoice, send that email out to the human that this particular invoice has come in, and all that. So that is the whole idea around unification. Unification means breaking down the silos, bringing that particular information into a common data space, and then from that particular data space, you are now able to run your analytics and your insights. Yes. So I hope I've answered that particular question.
Excellent. Jacinta says, cannot see the screen. Just let me know if the screen is being shared, or I do a reshare. Maybe Lavender, you could confirm, or Salome.
I think you can see your, yeah.
Okay,
All
maybe,
right.
yeah, Jacinta, it might be a network issue. And I think, Edwin, there was another interesting question from Kennedy, I think from the KWCA example. How do they collect the data that is used in the reporting? What does the backend look like? Did you help them with that as well?
Right. It's an interesting question that you're asking, because that is now phase 2 of our conversation with them. So number one, they were really concentrating in terms of being able to centralize the data that they have. They needed a back end that is going to be able to receive the data that they're going to be collecting. So that's what we did for them. The second phase is definitely going to be where we are collecting the data. Like I said, they work with conservancies. So there's kind of like surveys that they administer with the conservancies. Right now, those particular surveys are either on Excel or on a Word document that somebody needs to come back and transcribe. So the next phase that we're doing with them, we have a data collection app that we have built that is now able to now pick that particular data, depending on, they can go in, create the forms and the data the way that they want it. And then now we are connecting that. Remember, we talked about you have tools like Power Automate to be able to do that. But if you're looking for simple workflows, you can start now utilizing things like Microsoft Forms, for example. There's also the ability for you to be able to build build, what we'd call, and not to get too technical, a canvas application where you can now share that, or do a portal where you can share that with the end user and be able to bring that into Dataverse. So there's a lot of tools within the Microsoft workspace, right, or the Microsoft platform that you can start utilizing. So that is where we come in as Sibasi. So we have a conversation with you in terms of the use case. How do you want to collect the data, right? And then now we look at the tools that are available within the Microsoft toolbox to try and now help you to be able to do that, right? So that's how I'd answer that.
Fantastic. I hope, Kennedy, that helps. Just to add on, as we transition to start talking about, I can see the presenter and others. Let me just try to reshare. There might be something. Just let me know if the screen comes on. Maybe Adimbola, you could confirm, and Jacinta also. Hopefully, this should be resolved. Yeah, so as probably we're double checking on the screen and whether it's loaded. Fantastic. Okay, great. Thanks for confirming. Yeah, so as we're doing that, I'll just highlight a totally different use case. There's an organization that you might be familiar with called Concern Worldwide, I think working through the Somali Cash Consortium. And it's one of the programs that they were implementing in Somalia was, cash disbursements, and as part of that, of course, you need to get all the beneficiary data. You need to be able to report back to the donor on how well this program is actually going on, and what basically, and I think that goes into the data collection aspect. In this case, the data was coming through different partners from telcos once the disbursements have been done. And once you collect all this information coming in through Excel files, the idea was it all gets dumped into SharePoint folder. This is a Microsoft SharePoint. If you're already on the Microsoft ecosystem, you might be familiar with this. But basically, once it's dumped there, then we are able to actually extract and load it into what Edwin was showcasing, so that now it's able to be, there's processes that can be done in terms of the reporting, in terms of the dashboards that I think the example that Edwin was talking about. Now, with that example, it's where you're collecting data that is directly being received through email or from other partners or from the telcos. But you also have the case where you are sending teams to the field. And we worked with an organization called the Kenya Hemophilia Association, and having different teams sitting in the different national hospitals in the country, in Kenya. And with this particular team, they needed a tool that ideally, as you're within the hospital, you are able to collect information about patient data, about distribution of the drugs that they have received as a grant, and just showing, and you're able even to track things to do with, they were having a challenge where different hospital systems have, they are not integrated. So you could have a patient who would go between different, one hospital, collect drugs, and then go to another one, do the same. And to help with this particular case, now a consolidated system that was tracking how the patient, first of all, of course, assistance that the patient is receiving, but also the distribution of the drugs, and whether, so that when you're reporting back to the donor, again, you're saying that this is how the consignment that we received was this batch, and this is how it gets distributed. But besides that, because they also had a team of community health workers that were going into the field to actually do collect information and data about possible patients, and as you're doing the groundwork and having information that needs to be picked, then we have this mobile app, and I know in the nonprofit sector we are familiar with the Open Data Kit or Kobo Toolbox or these other tools. but you need tools also that will feed into these dashboards. And now, as you're talking today about AI and productivity, you need tools that can be able to feed very easily into your systems, such that you're able to now do the reporting and you can ask questions, and AI will give you this kind of feedback. So with this, there is a tool that we set up for them that does the when they go to the field, they just use the mobile app, of course, collect the data, and that if you do not have internet, it stores the data on the phone. When you get internet, then you get back to it synchronizes back to the main database, and then of course that leads now to how they engage with the various individuals within the community. So I think that's just to expand on the aspect, I think, that Kennedy, you asked around how does the data get collected. It can come in any different form. You might have a scenario where you need to go and collect data using a mobile app. That use case is available and we can provide a solution for that. If you need a specialist kind of a tool that then is picking, you're receiving all this feedback from different teams and you want to consolidate, that is also there. And all this can then sit within your data warehouse. And then we get to see how do you utilize this through the dashboards and so forth. But Edwin has mentioned something very interesting around, in 2026, the key discussion is around what we are talking about, the managing the agents. And just to give a high level of what agents are, basically you have the agents start off from simple things, like you can be able to go in and ask questions and it should be able to give you feedback. You need to retrieve information about something, you need to find a file, and so forth. This is one use case. But then you can also start giving agents a task and you tell it, okay, I need you to actually perform a particular task, and then in this case it should be able to execute based on what you're telling it to do. Or you can go to the far extreme and actually have it fully automated, and the autonomous ones are now where it actually goes through the entire process of picking information internally and responding and doing whatever the use case. And while I have this on a deck, I would want to show you on a live walkthrough how this more or less would look like. So let me see if I can switch screens and show you. So for those who are already on the Microsoft ecosystem, this view might be very familiar. If you're not, how I got here is I would go to office.com and it will take me to the Copilot view. We'll be doing a little bit more about this shortly, but then I go to the apps and then I would select Outlook. And while I'm on the email, so the first example that I want to show you is where you have an autonomous agent. So we have an internal agent that I can be able to use to showcase. If you send this from external sources, it will not process. But basically, I tell it I'd like who is Sibasi, dear hello or hello. Please tell me who is Sibasi. Let's say I do kind regards. So that's one of the use cases where you receive an automated email. An email that you receive as an organization, and you can think of this in different use cases. I see a message from Jacinta to reshare the screen. Let me just do that. Are you able to see the screen now? Yes, maybe somebody could confirm.
Yes, I can see the screen.
Okay, fantastic. So there's where somebody sends out an email and asks for some information, or we can also have another use case where I can actually tell this agent that there is an invoice for processing. And I know if you deal with, if your organization deals with beneficiaries, or you deal with a lot of students, and you receive, confirmations about payment and so forth, if you're in the academic sector, then I know one of the biggest pain points is when you receive a lot of emails and you have to go and feed this information into whatever system that you have, then this is where now the agents come in. So in this case, I say this is an invoice for processing, and I say, dear team, please process this attached invoice. Something that you'll notice about these kind regards, and something you'll notice about this, I've not given the details about source organization and so forth, but then I'll go in and say, I want to, let me browse, let me see if that window will come up. And then I have some invoices that I had pre-prepared. And I think so that we can be able to trace, because I know some of them have reused them previously. Let me see if I can say this is the winning webinar. So in this particular case, I give it an invoice as an attachment, and then give the details and just say that please process the attached invoice. I do not give the details about what it was about, who we are as an organization, or other details. But when I go into the attachment has is talking about, it's from the Kipande Creative Agency. It has a particular set of things and all this particular information, including the payment, where the payment is supposed to be done. So we'll get to see these two particular sets of use cases. I've sent that as an email. So in the first one, because we already have this information about who Sibasi is, the agent acts autonomously and is able to actually go into the system, pick information, and then get to actually respond and say, dear demo, this is who Sibasi is, this is what it is. And if you have any more questions, and the person can even respond. And if they respond, the agent acts in an autonomous way, finding information internally within our internal SharePoint. And that's why we say the data grounding is the first step. Once you have the information sitting within your organization, then you can set up now such kind of automated agents as such as this one. Now, you'll notice that the other email wasn't responded. Here's why. Let me go to now show you now the back end of how these things, it's always nice when you see the end result and what everybody else externally will be seeing. But let's see, how does it look like now? How does the agent actually behave? Now, this uses the Microsoft, what we call Microsoft Azure OpenAI, and it uses that for processing and getting information. And what the tool actually does, it is processing all incoming emails. So this is a high-level dashboard that just summarizes all information about what is available internally. But basically what it does is that first, it's able to process emails. So it also can process calls. So if you make a call and then submit, those automated calls that you ask it a question and then it uses internal information and just talks to you, that's another capability. And especially if you're dealing with a huge number of teams, you can use this as an AI tool that then can allow you to actually handle the communication and without needing the human intervention. There's a whole different discussion about that, but hopefully in one of the subsequent webinars we can discuss further. So you remember the email that we first sent, it was sent through from eBoard and who is Sibasi. If I go into the thread, and you'll see the status is that it was responded, is that the agent received the email and automatically drafted an email and then sent it back. Now, for the invoice, though, it received the email, but then says it's pending human, meaning that I have read the email as an agent, and I've discovered that the information that I'm being asked for requires for a human being to actually go and read there's a invoice. But besides this, since I have the invoice actually received, why not also go into the finer details where I can see actually, okay, it has read, it has picked the email. And not only that, it is able to send this email and store it where we have the details on SharePoint. So when I pick this, you'll see that if I go now to, let's look at Kipande. On our internal, this is of course a demo environment. On our internal system, it has gone in and created a folder, if the folder did not exist, for the Kipande Creative Agency, and logged all the invoices that, like now in this case, because I've done earlier demos, logged all of them, including the latest one. And what it does is also reads the details of the invoice and picks that information and just loads it up onto the system. And you can think of this as writing to whatever ERP that you're using, whether it is a Microsoft-based ERP or a different solution. We can be able to actually do this kind of integration. And not only that, you are able to get the documents, all of them sitting well organized. So think about it from contracts, from information if it is about students. You do not need to go and do manually, copy, save, pick all this. This agent is able to actually do that kind of detail. But besides that, when I go into the list of the invoices, actually the invoices as they are being received, it actually creates the entry. But not only that, also is able to pick the details such that whatever information it had read within your particular, within the document, the attachment that was received, gets to load it up. But you can also, of course, navigate to get to see more details about that email. And this is just to give you a high level of what are the possibilities in terms of agents. But then let me just quickly just highlight a couple of things. So yes, you can be able to do trigger instructions and plan. And in this case, this is actually using the Microsoft ecosystem and the Microsoft technologies to automate various processes that you have within the organization. And what we see in terms of how agents will come and impact, you can do them at organizational level, meaning we implement agents that assist across the entire organization, but you can also start with a user-led aspect. So if you are on the Microsoft ecosystem, let me just come here. You'll have within your, and this you'll see I'm not using a premium Copilot license. I'm just using the basic one. You can actually have this aspect of setting up your agents such that now there are specific agents that assist you to be able to do certain specific tasks. So for example, if you do proposal drafting and so forth, then you can actually set up these agents that assist you with actually setting up this particular process. When you get the Copilot premium license, this even goes to a much higher level, which I'll get to show you shortly. The other key area is around the ethics and the security. I think as we were starting up the webinar, we talked about with AI and productivity, then you need to look at how do you set up your ethics and security. The first bit is around when and Edwin alluded to this, when you use any other AI tools, ChatGPT and the others, your information is actually going outside of the organization. And that's where now using Copilot, then you get to ensure that organization is sitting within your particular organization. So when it comes to data and privacy, it's very key that, and especially when you're using the Microsoft tools, then you can be able to actually do things around the beneficiary data anonymization. You can do role-based access control. And the other aspect is that it is using internal information within your organization to ensure that that it's whatever kind of reports that you have to be able to actually generate information. But with that being said, we still recommend that for you to be using this particular set of tools, you need to verify. As a human being, there's this aspect that we keep talking about around the human in the loop. The last aspect is around the trust and accountability, that you need to probably put together training for your internal staff and the stakeholders that you work with, mainly so that you do not have a scenario where the information is actually going out of your particular organization. So I want to show you key aspects around now, when you're talking about ethics and compliance, that you might want actually to look at within your organization. So the first example that I'll go with is to show you when you're interacting with your board. how then how do you make sure that when you internally and externally, the information that is sitting and gets to be communicated in a particular way? So eBoard is a solution that is available within Microsoft ecosystem. So you can embed it within your Outlook, or you can embed it within Microsoft 365, and it is a tool for your board. So your board most likely might not be using Microsoft 365. So what they will do is just go to eboard.cloud. And the good thing about it is that it also has specialized pricing for academics and non-profits. But basically, once I get in and I've logged in into the system, of course, I can do the standard things of setting up the meetings, setting up the, scheduling your calendar, syncing your calendar, so that you are able to see your meetings that are on your Microsoft Teams, as well as on eBoard. And even when you're scheduling, meetings with your board, then it syncs up their calendar so that you are able to see when are they available and when you can schedule. But that's not the main thing that I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is around the documents that you have within your organization. So let's speak. You've shared some reports with your board, and sometimes the reports are comprehensive and they have a lot of detail. So for your board, they can actually go in and just say, I want to get a quick summary about the information. And once they just one click of a button, they get a quick summary. Or they can even get to use this aspect of the Ask AI. Ask AI now uses the information that is sitting within your eBoard and whatever reports that you have shared with your board to be able to actually get information from them. Of course, I can go in and read the particular set of reports. I can see who it's shared with. I can be able to sync it offline if I'm using a physical device. And it has all those capabilities of a board management tool. Now, the other key aspect that I'd want to go into is that within eBoard, you also are able to embed now those the reports that we were talking about in terms of the Power BI, that you are able to actually bring in and whether it is like in this case, I've just opened one of the reports around grants, and it just gets to unify. You've set up, of course, the data, and you want to present this information to your board. Then it becomes quite easy in terms of how you get to embed and give this out to your board members. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but this is one key aspect. Now, going back to my Microsoft 365 environment, I can also go and I say this one. I started off that this is Copilot Chat, Copilot Basic. It gives you your basic chat. I know this most likely we've experienced. If you've not experienced, I can easily go and say, I want to do, please give me, please give me details about, I see, David, you had mentioned your organization. I'm trying to get the name of the organization. Yes. Of course, if I want to go in and just find information, you can do something like this, which is pretty basic, pretty easy, and it will go and search for the information, and it will pull out the info, whatever it finds from the internet. Of course, if I had specific details that I'm looking for, I can also be able to use this for doing my research or finding information. But then, if you go to, I'm going to switch to now. Notice this is on Copilot Basic. I want to switch and use what we would call the Copilot Premium. And in a quick way, what I will just see if I can showcase, you'll see here now I get specific agents, some of them that are coming from Microsoft. One is Researcher, for example, that I can be able to go in and give it one prompt and tell it, okay, please generate for me and there's how you should phrase your Copilot prompts, and this is a whole topic around it. But basically, I told you that you are an M&E expert. Provide an analysis of the data with clear graphs and explanations. And I gave it an Excel that had some sample data that I had put together. Then what you see is that with this analyst agent, it actually goes in and just generates information about all the key aspects that it gets within the Excel file that I actually gave it. On another note, I'm able to actually go in and let me see if I can open one, and I say if I'm ready within my particular Excel, and you see it has so many aspects of the data, I can go in and now this you cannot do with the basic Copilot. This you can only do with the Copilot Premium. And I'll pick I don't know what we can get a summary for. Let me see, projects, budgets. Budgets is always an interesting area. And I say that please summarize this information. Summarize this information. And this is an agent that sits within your Microsoft Excel, and it's able to do a lot more than just, this is just one use case where I'm trying to get an analysis of the data. So while I'm still on Excel, I'm able to give it one simple prompt without explaining many specific details. And what it does is that it goes through the data, and I'll give it a few minutes, and then it just goes in and generates summary information about whatever it's seeing. And of course, I can be able to do this so that I can be able to now see, okay, it has given me the summary. You can even tell it that, sometimes you want to do and you do not know Excel formulas that you need. You can tell it to do that. You need to generate charts. You can be able to do that. And there are many other capabilities. And of course, it depends on how well you structure the prompts that you're giving it. On another note, if you need to generate reports and you have information sitting internally, it's very straightforward. This is an earlier report that I have done, but basically what you do is you just go in and say a new Word document, and I give it a prompt, and then it will generate my entire report. Or I can even go in and just say, these objectives don't make sense. Please, just as a quick example, please enrich this to expound into more activities. Nothing's coming to mind. And the moment I do that, what it does is that if I had given it a very specific prompt that tells it, okay, go and use information that is coming from somewhere, it will quickly be able to pull that in and bring it into the tool. This is pretty nice, and you can spend a lot of time as I go through the various examples and what you can do now with Copilot Premium. And normally we do about a 1 hour session where we go through this. How do you get the best kind of prompt? But let me just quickly run through this so that you can have a bit of time to spend on the Q&A. If you're for your organization in this day and age in 2026, you may want to actually start thinking about becoming a frontier firm. And to become a frontier firm, you need to be considering things around delivering more effectively. You need to be considering about, how do you do your stakeholder engagement? The other aspect is around internal efficiencies. And one key aspect that you need to be looking at is around security. As Salome mentioned, we are Sibasi. We help organizations to achieve success and impact. And we say that we are, first of all, AI native and a very innovative technology company. And Sibasi actually is our core mission to provide services and solutions invested and integrated into your business for you to achieve success and have an impact. We are a Microsoft Gold partner, and that recently Microsoft required recertification of partners, and we are one of the very few that have achieved what we call the Microsoft Solutions Partner designation, specializing mainly in 3 core solution areas. So first, we look at providing intelligent business platforms. That's around your board management, what I've explained. We didn't even go into the ERP. That's Dynamics Business Central, document management, memo management for academics, where you need to actually publish memos across to your entire teams. We have tools that assist with that. The other aspect is we assist in business process automation, productivity systems, as well as enterprise systems. And we also do what we call advisory consulting and support, where we provide training services, where we assist you in moving to cloud. If you do not know where to start, we will assist you with that. In your AI readiness roadmap, these are the 3-4 areas that we would recommend. First, you would need to assess where and understand, where are you, and identifying 3 top pain points. What are the things that take you a lot of time? What are the things that need some kind of automation? And sorry, the second bit is then we get to come up with a plan. And the key things around this is we need to have a governance framework. We need to also see how well, do you get to be able to actually implement these particular tools that would help in your in achieve your AI readiness. And then we do a pilot with a couple of your team, as well as training, the champion users, and then we get to scale. And there are very many different types of automations and systems that are available within the Microsoft ecosystem, and we are there to assist you, to get started. A key question when we do these walkthroughs around AI and productivity and the tools is, where do you get to start? So you can go right now to ai.sibasi.com, and it will give you a quick, if you're looking at how do I come up with the right prompts, it has that information. Where do I start as an organization? It has that information. How do you, utilize the various tools? All that you can get within the ai.sibasi.com. And I think exclusively for the team and everybody who has joined this particular webinar, if you reach out to us through success at sibasi.ltd, then we would be happy to actually reach out to you and do an AI readiness assessment, where we sit with you and understand, discuss and understand where you are in terms of your readiness, and we'll get to give you a report that can help you in preparation and going into the usage of AI within your particular organization. We thank you for making the time, and I think Edwin, Salome, probably it might be a good time to jump into Q&A. It would be great to hear your feedback. If you you can scan that, or you can just go to siba.c/webinar-feedback. You can let us know, how did you find the webinar? Is there any specific topics you'd want us to cover? We are preparing for the next quarter, so we'll be happy to engage further and get to prepare for the next set of webinars. So I don't know, I haven't been checking on the charts, I think, as I was preparing, as I was running through the presentation. So I don't know, Edwin, if we could run through any questions that are there before we can give some key takeaways that you would want to consider.
On the questions, I got you, right? So okay. On this side, yes, I think it's been a nifty session. I'm seeing a lot of kudos on the chat, yeah, in terms of what we have explained. I think this is Abimbola, right, is saying she's very interested in setting up an agent for grant and proposal writing, but I think also she's mentioned, and please talk about this. So far, when I give Copilot prompts, it responds with, I think it's with data, but online bare minimum, draft, or inadequate, or inadequate document. So even when I add additional information, even if I use sample data, it summarizes it that it cannot be used. And I think we've seen this particular trouble before. Yeah. So making them look for another AI platform, I think this is a frustration that most users have. So how can we address this, and especially talk about also Copilot Chat, which is free, and then now Copilot Premium. I think that will also help give context into what Abimbola can be able to do going forward.
Excellent. I don't know, you can hear me?
Yes. Spot on.
All right. So let me use this to more or less highlight the capabilities of Copilot, and I want to go in and talk about. So with Copilot, the basic one, yes, it uses internal information within your organization to answer questions. And when you're, I think in the example that I was showcasing, let me see if I hope I didn't close it. In the example that I was showcasing, when you go into a new chat, you'll always have that, you can be able to actually tell it, if it is a basic one, you'll see you are not able to switch between the work mode, where it uses internal information, and when you're using the web mode. But if you're using the Copilot, let me see if I closed it. If you're using the Copilot Premium, then you start having this option where you can say, I just want you to use internal work information, or I want you to actually go in and use the web. And just to give you a glimpse of what also we cover when we are going through the, how best do you come up with the, and this does not just apply to Copilot, I think it applies to most of the large language models. So basically, you need to tell Copilot, what do you want it to do? What is your goal? What response are you looking for? You need to give it context. If you want it to be able to use a certain document to give you feedback, then you need to attach and give it that particular document so that it knows the boundaries of what it's supposed to use. Then you need to also tell it which sources it's supposed to use. If it's if in the case of probably you have a certain set of documents, and the other aspect is giving it the expectations. This is something that we go in and we get to show a couple of examples, but just to show you so that you can get started. If you're already there, you'll always have this aspect where you can add work content, or and basically you can also upload files. That's one of the nifty features that you can get to do. But also getting to use the specialist agents. If you're doing research, for example, this might give you better results compared to when you just do the default aspect. If you're looking for files within your organization, search will be able to give you a much better context compared to just using the default search item. I'm hoping that will be able to help. Of course, we can do a much more deeper dive walk through on this, but just to, I think, as a quick highlight of what is possible. Let me just bring back the previous chat. I don't know whether, Edwin, I addressed the question. You had told me to address the chat versus premium. I don't know whether you can be mentioning that as I bring back the deck where we are, just in case somebody needs the contact.
Yeah, and I think yes, Abimbola has agreed that you've answered the question, right?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think probably Dr. Corbus here is saying that it would be good to schedule a Copilot session. So I guess we have in terms of what we could do next. We could dive deeper into what we could be able to do with regards to Copilot. But I think he might be alluding to, he's mentioned here, what is the MS Business Process tool? I think he's talking about that probably Sibasi Sentinel. So you might want to talk about that, right? Yeah.
Yes, Sibasi Sentinel is using the Microsoft Azure OpenAI, and that more or less it's still the Microsoft ecosystem. It's able to connect to what we call the Microsoft Graph, meaning it connects to your Microsoft 365 tenant, and it's able to actually do the now, if you wanted to, for example, read specific information, or you want to even give it boundaries. Let's say, for example, you receive a lot of requests for grants, and you receive them right now. You're receiving them as emails, proposals, and you would want to be able to review those. Then this agent can be tailored to help you in actually summarizing and even scoring the grants based on whatever models and schematics that you use in terms of scoring. So yes, I think the question, Edwin, if I understood, is whether it uses a Microsoft tools. 100%. It uses Microsoft tools, but built on top of that to extend and have these specific use cases and functionalities that it can be able to assist with. Did I get it right?
And just to give context here to Dr. Kobas, so I remember when we're talking about agents, they are what we call pre-built agents. So those are the ones that come out of the box with the Microsoft product. So depending on which application you're on, as Amos had showed on Excel, or even if you go to the ERP on Business Central, you'll find that there are already agents that have been configured. Sibasi Sentinel is our own agent that we've built, using the Microsoft tools that is now able to do all the things that you've seen us do. So that is called a custom agent. So we are able to build custom agents for our clients depending on their use cases, and then be able to contextualize those agents based on what they're looking for. So if that's something that you're interested in, and I think also Abimbola mentioned, setting up an agent for grant and proposal writing, those are good conversations that we can have together and then see how we can be able to contextualize that for you. You spoke about something, Amos, in terms of boundaries, right? So Petra here, Petra Kibugu, thanks for joining and thanks for your question. They're saying, great presentation so far, right? So have you developed custom agents in Copilot Studio that connect to CRM Dataverse? If yes, how do you make the agent more dynamic so that it can go beyond predefined topics and use Dataverse data to generate accurate responses?
That's an excellent question. Yes, there's a tool called Copilot Studio, and it's lovely that you've mentioned. I think you're ahead of the curve on the AI adoption. And yes, Copilot Studio allows you to create, to define steps, to define prompts that the agent is supposed to use. But we find that in most cases, especially if you have very specific use cases, if you're dealing, for example, with beneficiaries and you have all this information about the beneficiaries in your CRM, and you'd want to be able to, the agent to not only give you summaries and you want to interact with these tools to be able to do a lot more, whether it is generating charts or summarization, or, you ask it questions about, the beneficiaries and the teams that you're interacting with, then you find that it is sometimes a bit limited in terms of what comes out of box. And that's where I think from what Edwin is mentioning, yes, we can be able to extend and create what we call custom agents. And those then end up, can be able to do a lot more, can be very specific and specialized. So let's say, I think in the case of, if your CRM data contains partners, contains beneficiaries, we're able actually to get to train it to that this is how the information actually is structured. Just in the case of where I was showing the invoicing, tell it exactly what we want it to do, or any processing that we need to do, or certain context that it's supposed to use, so that you are also able to use, to maximize the capability. I mean, the aspects of what you get from the AI agents. So yes, I think the summary of that, all that, is to say that yes, we are able to actually build custom agents that extend what comes out of box from Microsoft within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem.
All right. Yeah. Another question that I see here, let me see if I got it right. Just give me a minute. Yeah, I don't know, Salome, I don't know if you could answer this, because it might not necessarily, it might be related to in terms of the program. So this is Eva Kimathi, and just for context, I don't know if we probably take this offline, but she says, I appreciate this might be the incorrect platform to fill this question. But for the MS Elevate program, is there support to migrate tenancy? We had registered under the nonprofit and education scheme before. That was before her time, and was wondering if there's a risk switching to the NFP program. I don't know, Salome, if that's something that you can be able to address, or is that something that we take offline?
It's definitely something that we can address, and also something
Right.
that we perhaps could take offline as well. So
Right.
when you are, oh, sorry, I see my camera is not on. Apologies. So
No problem.
so when you are registered under the Microsoft Elevate program, there is a way that you can migrate your tenants to your preferred tenant. But that is definitely a step-by-step guide that you need to do with a partner. It's not as simple as just clicking a button. So please do reach out with your details to the Subasi team, and we'll gladly assist you with that migration or provide you with the steps in order to do so. Okay, but yes,
Okay.
it is possible.
Right. Okay. So Petra, I think has another question for you, Amos. So which tools do you use to create the custom agent, in terms of which tech stack? I don't know. I think you might have alluded to it, but you can just probably give a general view in terms of what tech stack is available in the Microsoft platform for you to be able to build your custom agents.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, primarily we use the Azure OpenAI for the custom agents. That's a straight answer around it. But we also could, especially for the interfaces. So, for example, we've had a use case where we need to set up on your website a tool that allows you to, when customers beneficiaries, students. When they go to your website, when they click on it, it pops up, and what the interaction that the website visitor has is actually interacting with your internal tools, but it is actually AI. So in that particular case, then we are extending Copilot Studio, and there are other tools that we use around that. But yes, at the end of the day, it's Azure OpenAI through Microsoft. Of course, that means behind the scenes it's ChatGPT that is in use. But I know the OpenAI, the Azure AI tools are expanding to the other models for cloud and so forth. Yeah, so I hope it was Petra. I hope I've managed to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I see our time is really running out, so we have
3 minutes to go.
thanks. Yeah, 3 minutes to go to the top of the hour, and we'd want to really respect your time. So thank you so much for joining. And I think Eva says she's really curious about the eBot product. So Eva, I think we can have a chat on this. So just feel free to leave us your information. I think the link has been pasted on there on the chat. So just siba.seed/webinar-feedback. Yeah, reading that is really hard, but if you go to the chat, you should be able to see that. So just leave us your feedback on there. I think we should be able to get in touch with you. I see also David Ngobese, I hope I pronounced that right, says, can we create a WhatsApp group so that we can stay connected and be able to assist each other? I think that's something that we should be able to pursue going forward, right? I think we'll just put that, add that into the feedback. If it's something that people would want to pursue, then we create a community together. Because like we say, the idea around this particular webinars is threefold. We want to be able to engage, and which you guys have done a lovely job today. We really appreciate. We don't have enough time to be able to engage much further on this, but that's why we have subsequent webinars, right? So we'd love to engage, we'd love to educate, and I think that is what we've managed to do today, just to show you what you're capable of doing. And then the third one is basically to empower, and we're hoping that we can get in touch after this particular session and see how then can we make this a reality for you. Yeah, so thank you so much for your time. I know, all good things have to come to an end, definitely, but be on the lookout for our next session. As Amos had mentioned, we have a feedback that you can fill it in, and then let us know what would you want to see us talk about next, and we'll be able to put that on. I don't know, Salome, would you want to take the parting shot?
Thank you so much for including me in your webinar again today, guys. Thank you. This was truly a fantastic webinar. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There wasn't a moment that I couldn't, especially with the agent use cases. What a beautiful demonstration. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much. That's me.
Right. That's it from us, and see you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you so much. Wish you a fantastic day ahead.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye.